One of the last things you would ever want to encounter while swimming is, without a doubt, a shark. Because when a person swims in the ocean, they are actually stepping out of their own world. No matter how strong we are on land, in the water we are slow, defenseless, and most of the time we cannot fully see what is happening around us. That is exactly what makes the fear of sharks so powerful. A creature silently approaching from the depths. A giant fish suddenly appearing beneath the water. And an attack beginning before you even understand what is happening. Especially in American culture, the fear of sharks has a very special place. The movie Jaws, released in 1975, completely changed the way millions of people looked at the ocean. After that day, many people swimming at the beach had the same thought cross their minds. What if there is a shark under the water? Today, more than 400 species of sharks are known to exist around the world. Most of them are not as dangerous to humans as people imagine. In fact, some species are quite calm and harmless. But when people hear the word shark, the first creature that usually comes to mind is the great white shark. Great white sharks can grow up to 20 feet long and weigh more than 3,000 pounds. Their mouths are lined with rows of sharp teeth. With their powerful jaws, speed, and hunting instincts, they are considered one of the most impressive predators in today's oceans. Seeing a great white shark up close would probably be one of the most terrifying moments of most people's lives. But now, let's put that aside. Because once upon a time there was a fish in the ocean so massive that it could make a great white shark look almost like a small fish. Its name was Megalodon. Megalodon was the apex predator at the very top of the ocean's food chain millions of years ago. According to some estimates, it could reach lengths of 50 to 65 feet. Its weight could reach up to 40 tons. The meaning of its name was actually very simple: big tooth. And this name was definitely not an exaggeration, because Megalodon's teeth could reach 7 to 8 inches in length. In other words, just one of its teeth was almost bigger than a human hand. Today, we do not have a complete Megalodon skeleton. That is because shark skeletons are made mostly of cartilage, and cartilage does not fossilize as easily as bone. For this reason, much of what scientists know about Megalodon comes from its massive teeth and a few vertebrae remains. But even its teeth alone are enough to understand how terrifying this creature was. Imagine a great white shark. Now place Megalodon beside it. The great white is a powerful, fast, and dangerous predator. But next to Megalodon, it would look almost like a young shark. To picture this more clearly, you can think of it this way. If a great white shark was the size of a minivan, Megalodon could be almost the size of a school bus. And that size did not just make it frightening. It also made it an incredibly hungry creature. Because a predator approaching 40 tons needed constant energy to survive, that is why Megalodon could not live on small fish alone. Its targets were the largest creatures in the ocean. Whales. During the time Megalodon lived, there were many different species of whales in the oceans. Some of them were not as large as today's giant whales, but they were a perfect food source for Megalodon. This giant shark, with its powerful jaws and saw-like rows of teeth, was capable of attacking large marine animals. Bite marks believed to belong to Megalodon teeth have been found on some fossilized whale bones. This shows that it did not just hunt large sea creatures in theory. It actually did. Encountering a predator like this in the ocean would have been a scenario with almost no chance of escape. Because Megalodon was not just large, it was also a predator that changed the balance of the ocean. In the waters where it lived, whales, dolphins, large fish, and other marine animals were constantly at risk. What lions or tigers represent in forests today, Megalodon represented in the oceans millions of years ago, but on a much larger scale. If Megalodon were alive today, everything about the ocean would be different. People would look at swimming in open waters, diving, or traveling in small boats in a completely different way. Coast Guard reports, the tourism industry, whale-watching tours, and even ocean documentaries would be very different. A small boat would look like a toy next to a creature like that. Of course, it would not be scientifically accurate to say that Megalodon would deliberately hunt modern ships. But even the possibility of a creature this large crashing into small boats or putting them in serious danger would be terrifying enough on its own. Fortunately, Megalodon no longer exists. Scientists believe this giant shark went extinct around 3.6 to 2.6 million years ago. In other words, long before humans began spreading across the world, this giant predator of the oceans had already disappeared into the dusty pages of history. But the real question is this: how did such a powerful predator of the oceans go extinct? After all, Megalodon was one of the largest predators of its time. There were very few creatures that could stand against it. And yet, at some point, this giant predator vanished, leaving behind only its teeth. So why? There is no single definite answer to this question. Scientists usually explain Megalodon's extinction as the result of several different factors coming together. The first major reason was a change in food sources. A massive predator like Megalodon needed large prey in order to survive. Whales in particular played a very important role in its diet. But over time, the whale species in the oceans began to change. Some whale species went extinct. Some migrated to different regions. Others adapted to colder waters and moved into areas where Megalodon could not easily follow them. This was a huge problem for Megalodon, because a giant body means a giant appetite. If you cannot find enough large prey, being powerful will not save you. In fact, the opposite happens. Your size becomes your greatest weakness. The second important reason was climate change. Millions of years ago, the Earth slowly began to cool. Sea temperatures changed. Ocean currents shifted. This transformation deeply affected marine life. Megalodon is believed to have lived mostly in warm and temperate waters. As the seas became colder and prey animals migrated to different regions, Megalodon's habitat began to shrink. So the problem was not just hunger. The ocean was no longer the ocean it knew. The third reason was the changing map of the world. The formation of what is now the Isthmus of Panama had a major impact on the world's oceans. In the past, the water exchange between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans was different. But when the Isthmus of Panama formed, that connection closed. This event changed ocean currents, water temperatures, and the migration routes of marine animals. When the movement patterns of whales changed, the patterns of the predators following them also changed. For Megalodon, this meant that the hunting routes it had relied on no longer worked the same way. The fourth reason was competition. Toward the end of Megalodon's time, other powerful predators also began to appear in the oceans. Especially predators like the ancestors of killer whales, more agile, more social, and capable of hunting in groups, may have put pressure on Megalodon's food sources. Megalodon was a massive force on its own. But sometimes in nature, it is not the largest that survives. It is the one that adapts best. Smaller, faster, smarter predators that moved in groups may have adapted to the changing ocean conditions better than Megalodon did. That is why it would not be right to connect Megalodon's extinction to just one cause. Most likely, everything happened at the same time. The oceans cooled, the migration routes of whales changed. Some prey species declined, new rivals appeared, and for a massive predator like Megalodon, survival became harder with each passing year. This creature, once the absolute ruler of the oceans, slowly found itself outside the world it had once dominated. Its strength was still great. Its teeth were still deadly. But the world it lived in had changed. And Megalodon could not keep up with that change. Today, what remains of it are mostly its giant teeth. These teeth are found in different parts of the world, and each one reminds us of the same thing. Once there was a predator in the oceans far larger than we can imagine. It was so huge that even today's most feared shark would look like a small fish beside it. It was so powerful that even whales could become its prey. And it was so impressive that even though it disappeared millions of years ago, it still continues to capture people's imagination today. Maybe what makes the story of Megalodon so frightening is not the possibility that it might still be alive, because scientifically there is no reliable evidence that Megalodon still exists today. The truly frightening thing is this: a creature like this really existed. It really swam through the oceans, and it really hunted. It really attacked whales, and for millions of years it was one of the greatest nightmares of the seas. Today, when we stand on the shore and look out at the ocean, we only see the waves on the surface. But beneath those waves, some of the oldest and darkest stories on Earth are hidden. Megalodon is one of those stories. It may be extinct now, but the fear it left behind still lives in the depths of the ocean. See you in the next video.